And welcome back to the Football Philosophy Podcast. Finally, we are live. And like Nathan said before we started this podcast, welcome back to the yearly podcast at this point. So, guys, how's everyone doing? We're back again. I think we haven't done any episodes for the last, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months. What's everyone saying?
Well, we kind of ruined the vibe of the yearly podcast if we said we did one a few months ago. But doing all right. You know what I mean? Just enjoying the madness that is the transfer window. So yeah, I don't know what everyone else is saying. So all good.
Trey, how's your summer going so far?
You know what? I'm not even gonna lie to you from a sporting perspective. I've enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie, man. I've enjoyed it. It's gonna be weird for certain United fans to just be hearing that, but just in general, sport, man, I've loved it. Obviously, I'm doing the stuff for the boxing, and boxing's been a yearly sport, man. But you know what? Before I do anything, obviously we've got the two boys here, man. We've got Phantom AFC, big up for the badge. And obviously we've got Jesse, my brother, United. Absolutely love it, man. So, Wise, man, how you doing?
Yeah, good man. Same as what you said, really. I don't know if it's like the same for most other United fans, but I was happy the season was over. So it's been a nice break. But yeah, I'm excited by like the new changes and that. So yeah, all good, and just enjoying sports like you.
Definitely, man. What are you
Phantom
saying, Lombe?
AFC, Lombe? What are you saying?
Yep.
I think he's on mute. Maybe he can't hear us.
I think he's just enjoying the scenery, isn't he?
He's enjoying the scenery.
All
right,
right, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So, guys, well, like everyone said, as a United fan, I just wanted the season to finish. To be honest with you guys, I think from the moment that we lost, what was it, to Everton? I believe it was 1-0 away to Everton. I just wanted the season to end.
Can you hear me now?
From that game?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you look at so far the summer transfers, there's so much that's been happening. But let's start with a team that has been unusually active in the transfer windows, which is Arsenal Football Club, Phantom AFC's club. I think he just left the stream. He might join us later. But Jesse, if I just start with you, what did you make of just in general the transfer window so far, and what Arsenal are up to? Chelsea, United, Liverpool. You know, obviously Man City getting Haaland and Calvin Phillips. What did you make of it overall?
Oh, that's a big question. Where to start? Well, Arsenal, firstly, pretty much kind of consistent with what they done last year. They done quite a bit of business last year quickly, and they're just kind of continuing down that route. They've done some good business so far.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like it. I don't know much about Vieira, but they've brought some players in, moved some. I know some players have left, so and they linked to players. I believe they're losing out to Chelsea on Rafinha. I don't know if that's gone through yet or if it's been confirmed, but yeah, they've done okay business so far.
What about in terms of Liverpool and Man City, who have already been ahead of the pack, and now you can see them signing Nunez going to Liverpool, and then Man City signing Haaland. What did you make of that as well?
I think Haaland was probably the worst kept secret of the the whole window, wasn't it? That was always going to happen. And they've done it as quick as they usually do their transfers, to be fair, with no like fuss. Transfer fees agreed. There's no haggling. There's no it's not drawn out for 50 days. They just get their stuff done, don't they? So it's obviously it looks like a good move on paper. It could work out. Only time will tell. You never know when strikers come to the Premier League, as we've seen over the last 12 months. Sometimes it's hit and miss. So we just have to see what happens. That's the same with Nunez. See, they got that over the line quickly too, and he looked good for Benfica. But the Premier League's different, so we'll have to see if it's going to work out or not.
Yeah, Nathan, if I come to you next, you look at City and Liverpool, the way they've strengthened already, and then you look at a club like Tottenham with Antonio Conte there, having transformed the season pretty much from a team that was going to finish maybe 8th or 7th to a team that finished 4th, pretty much, down to United and Arsenal, not pretty much taking it serious, the whole top 4 race. But if you look at the summer signings that he has done so far, what can you see a case where they can actually challenge teams like Liverpool, City, and Chelsea, and actually leave United and Arsenal behind?
See, I don't stick Chelsea in the category of like City and Liverpool, to be honest, because I think those two are the they're the front runners in the Premier League. It's been sort of proven the last few years. I think though last season when they went into it, I did have sort of Chelsea to maybe surprise them, like surprise the top 2. But I think at the minute, City and Liverpool are still, the teams you have to catch. I do think though, like. Also, we don't know what Chelsea are doing yet. They're looking as though they're getting Sterling or maybe like Rafinha, maybe as well. Tottenham have obviously, Tottenham have always had the sort of, not the luck, but they sort of had the thing of they've always had Son and Kane. They've never lost those two, so that always gives them a chance of doing something like in the seasons ahead. I think Tottenham though, it'll be a case of I think they're more assured for the top 4. Instead of actually challenging, if that makes sense. I think it wouldn't surprise if you see him finish 3rd, but I don't think it's going to be a huge sort of leap to challenge the top 2. I think the top 2 will eventually just go away from the rest of the pack, as we've seen. I don't see major changes yet, but I see Tottenham finishing, like being more assertive off top 4, if that makes sense, rather than actually challenging for the league.
But do you think with the summer transfer window, the way it's going so far for Arsenal, for United, do you think they can actually compete with Tottenham next season, even for top 4?
I know
Conte in there as well.
I know Lombe's going to be listening. Hopefully, he can respond back because I don't know what his connection's like. But I think with Arsenal, especially last season, I always thought it was a really sort of missed opportunity for them not getting top 4 at the time because they had no European football. They played at one point like 9 games in 12 weeks. And then Arteta was complaining about the scheduling in the Premier League. It's like, well, you've got no European competition. You were pretty much like, he's shaking his head. Right. But you know what I mean? Like, you had no European competition. I know Spurs didn't after Christmas, stuff like that. But like, I thought last season it would have been a prime opportunity for Arsenal to get top 4. And under Arteta, they've had like 2 8th place finishes and a 5th place finish. And I think if he gets him into the top 4, I think this has to be the season because I think if he doesn't, I think there is going to be serious question marks about whether
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to hearing what Lombe has to say about this when he can join us. Trey, if I come to you next, what do you think United are playing at here? If you look at, where they're supposed to be, the players that they're supposed to be targeting, for example, what I'm hearing from the news is that Nunez, they came in very late for him. And the representative of Nunez were like, what are you guys doing? Like, you coming in last minute, you're expecting us to just change our mind. What is going on with this club? Especially if you look at the way, what's his name? The CEO was talking about the club and, the £1 billion being wasted here and there. Can you see any hope of things getting better, even with Jong coming in and other players like Tyrell, Malaysia, and maybe Ericsson coming in? Is there any hope?
Yeah, obviously, Avdi, man, big up for, scheduling this podcast. It's been a minute, it's been a long time, so we all obviously have a lot to say. Before I make my point, just let me know if you can hear this, yeah? Just let me know. I'm going to make my point before you hear this.
Stone Cold Trey Austin.
What is that?
Stone Cold Trey Austin in the building.
That is shocking behavior, Trey.
The reason why I played that is when Ten Hag got appointed, the first 2 words I said was Ten Hag 316. You asked if Manchester United have hope. I've never been panicking throughout this window. Obviously, Lombe knows we share the same group. I've not been panicking. The reason why is there's a long-term vision for the club. we've had structural changes. So we've obviously seen the likes of Woodward leave. We've seen Matt Judge leave. We've got a CEO in place now. We've got a director of football. Manchester United for the past 10 years have been run poorly. Yeah, we've been under the mud. So we've had to sort out these situations structurally in the back end. Now, in terms of the signings and what's going on now, all I'm going to say to United fans is don't panic. It's going to take more than one window to sort out the problems that we could obviously see as fans. And what we need to do is to just let the man make it until the first game of the season. Let's see what United can do. There's a long window, so right now there's no time to panic. We just need to relax. We need to see what's going on. Obviously, we've heard news with obviously De Jong. That's good news. Obviously, Bestie, you've got obviously better resources in terms of what you know United are doing right now. But let me switch the question over to you. In terms of the activity that you've seen today, do you see hope?
Well, the thing is, I'm sort of in the same boat as you. I weren't exactly like panicking because I sort of sat there thinking you're coming into a recruitment department that has been sort of run chaotically for the past 10 years, you know. Like, it doesn't surprise me that you hear like John Murta, sort of the reports that, like, you know, United don't want to be overpaying like stupid fees for players anymore, because you see what's happened over the years, you know, like the likes of Maguire, even Popper, you know, like sign him for 89 million, let him go on a free, and yet you're all led to believe that Ed Woodward was this great businessman because he was great at commercial sort of signings and that. I think though it's like the comments from Abdi mentioned earlier about Richard Arnold, or when he was talking to the fans who, like, you know, who when they went to protest at his house. And first and foremost, like, on that regard, I'm not like, I don't condone people turning up at people's houses, and because that's a bit you're taking that personal, he's going over that personal line. But to be fair to him, like, if that was Woodward's calling the police right away. He's not going to meet him at a pub and, you know, buy him a drink, this, that, and the other.
That's true.
So, but yeah, back to you, Trey, about the structure and stuff like that. You see now, as soon as the stuff about De Jong's pretty much like done and dusted, and I've confidence that he is going to be a Man United player. You see now everything's sort of it's like a domino effect. Do you know what I mean? Once one falls, the other one falls. You know, you see Malacia at Feyenoord, he's been highly rated. There was reports that Ten Hag wanted him at Ajax as well, so he's obviously he's had a good look at the player. Ericsson, who he's got a choice between Man United and Brentford. It's like, you know, but no, I was pretty relaxed. Like you said, it's you got 2 months left to the window to closes. It's not like do you remember it was Ollie's what season was it? Second full season, where it was like right towards the end, you see like Ahmad Palestri, all these lot come in. It's like, well, they're not going to have an impact on the first team. It was sort of like chaotic against the window. Yeah. Whereas now, like, there seems to be a strategy in place where it's like, right, you're going to go in for these players, but you're not going to sort of have your pants pulled down, so to speak. You're going to negotiate good deals, like, because the De Jong deal, by the way, I saw this, like, it's 54 million. Sorry, what was that?
What do you think of the De Jong deal in terms of the fee we paid?
Yes, good. It's a really good deal, considering like it's about, I think it's like 54 million fixed fee, and obviously add-ons you don't pay this season, you pay like over. You know, I play a lot of Football Manager. I know when add-ons are paid, right? So
yeah, it's a realistic add-ons, so it's gonna come up to 20 million euros in terms of add-ons. But yeah, Jesse, I thought you wanted to say something about the De Jong deal, or just in general what United have been doing so far in the summer.
No, I just echo what the guys have already said. Like, I'm exactly the same as what they said. Like, I've had like no issues with it so far whatsoever. Like, no panic at all. We've been linked consistently with the same players, and they've been in negotiations, and some of them take long because, like what Nathan just said, you don't want to get your pants pulled down anymore. There's no point. And you have to remember, it doesn't matter if whether De Jong's unsure about coming to us. Barcelona are broke, so we don't need to like pander and overpay for anyone we're buying from them. Like, they're still heavily in debt, so sometimes you do have to just negotiate. Of course, we could have probably paid that all up front, but there's no rush and there's no panic of a need to do anything like that. And it's the
Okay,
same with the other
so
transfer.
you guys all seem pretty confident, but let me paint a scenario for you guys. Yeah, you have up front a striker who's 37, turning 38. I think next year, February, he's going to be turning 38. Cristiano Ronaldo, I'm talking about. He finished top scorer last season, 18 goals in the Premier League, and maybe 6 or 7 in the Champions League. Didn't score in the League Cup or the FA Cup. At least you had Cavani as a backup for him. You won't have Cavani now.
But we didn't.
His
We didn't
backup
have.
is going to be
we didn't have.
Martial, Rashford. That's it.
Well,
And
we didn't have. We didn't have Cavani last season.
We didn't have him.
So
okay, but at least you had a striker there. You know, sometimes he came on like he scored a couple of goals. At least he had some sort of an impact.
No,
you know what I mean?
We had him in name. He was never there.
But there were a couple of games, where he did have an impact. You know, I'm talking about the Villarreal game, for example, where you know that last minute goal Ronaldo scored.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
definitely.
the game that he came on against Newcastle, which was 1-1. But anyway, that was last season. I'm talking about this season. There is no natural born striker that's a backup for Cristiano Ronaldo. That for me is a cause for concern when you look at the way these 5 teams who have finished above United last season have strengthened. You look at Jesus. You look at Tottenham, the way they've strengthened. You look at Chelsea right now. They're signing Rafinha.
Can I make this comment about Jesus quickly? Let me just make this comment about Jesus. Don't panic. Let me just make this comment about Jesus. Let me paint the scenario.
I haven't even finished what I was going to say. That was even the first point.
Let me just say this quick point about Jesus quickly.
Jesus,
Let me paint the scenario for you. Haaland, so you're Manchester City and you're Pep Guardiola. You have just signed Haaland. And Jesus wants to, have more games on the pitch. Realistically, he wants to play. Is he going to play now that City have signed Haaland? He's not going to play. So he's not going to have games.
And he's going to go free next summer anyway.
Exactly. So,
but it's a great deal for Arsenal, right? It's a fantastic deal for them.
But we was never going to get Jesus anyway. So
no, but I'm not saying that United should have gone for him, but at least they should go for a striker, a backup striker for Cristiano Ronaldo.
No, I think we need we need a forward. I don't think we necessarily need a number 9. We just need more goals. It doesn't matter if it comes centrally or from wide areas. So I'm not really.
So basically, when United are going into this season, they're relying on Rashford and Martial, who have not proven themselves last season.
But they've proven themselves.
Okay, now you come into the midfield. You lost Nemanja Matic, who was one of the best defensive midfielders in the Premier League. Even with his, lazy legs, like Nathan says, at the end of his career, at least you had a defensive midfielder there. Paul Pogba leaves, no replacement for him. Okay, maybe Jong is a replacement for Pogba, but where is the defensive midfielder? What is the midfield looking like? Is it going to be McTominay and De Jong?
I genuinely think what's going to happen is that I think De Jong goes as the deepest playmaker in midfield. I think he sits in front of the. It's like thing is with defensive.
Okay, who plays with him?
I think what happens is that we say like people want a DM and stuff like that. Do you want like an absolute destroyer, or do you want someone like you remember like
start attacks?
Yeah, someone like Carrick, Carrick back in the day.
I want Rodri.
Things happen.
Yeah, like Rodri's not like an out and out.
That's not going to happen.
Rodri's not like an out and out destroyer.
Carrick wasn't a monster, but he knew how to fill his spaces. He was a very clever.
So does De Jong.
He was a bit more athletic than De Jong is.
Do you reckon he put Van der Beek as
Carrick?
Carrick,
was more athletic than De Jong.
Yes. Oh. Don't you think so?
Carrick is more Busquets-esque, to be honest. Yeah. If you're talking about body frame, this, that, and the other. Because I think with Carrick, it was.
But in terms of the defensive, you see, Michael Carrick
was in a team for athleticism, to be honest.
Michael Carrick played with Paul Scholes, sometimes with Fletcher, sometimes with Owen Hargreaves, and even sometimes with Ryan Giggs. But you could leave that holding midfield space to him. He knew how to do the job. Now, De Jong, yes, he can play you know, he can take the ball from defense to midfield, but you need someone next to him, someone with brains about them. It doesn't have to be a monster. It can. Are you telling me that Fred and McTominay are going to be enough?
No,
No,
but I don't
we're not
think.
gonna play
I don't
them,
think.
man.
Yeah, they're not going to play. Fred will play. I don't think McTominay will play that much, if I'm being honest. But
Yep.
you just have to be patient as well. Like Rome, I hate using shit cliches, but
Yeah.
Rome weren't built in a day. We're not going to get everything we need in this one window. It's going to take. I know Trey said it earlier, but I think it's going to take more than one window. Probably more than 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So bit by bit,
But this is my point,
as we
yeah.
start to see improvement.
Yeah,
then
no, I agree with you. 100% agree with you. This takes time. It's a process. You know, all of the cliches, you can say it. But my point is, it shouldn't be about
You just want
what
it
the
now.
manager wants.
You just want it now. He's been impatient.
No,
man,
but this is
for
my
10
point.
years.
This is my point,
But I
guys.
get
Look,
it.
yeah,
I
we've
get it.
spent 3 years, maybe 4 seasons with Oli, thinking this is the process, and you just thinking like, where was the people with the brains to actually think, okay, if Oli was to leave or to be sacked, then we need to have certain targets in our heads that we can go and target and get them. People that we think are going to be suitable to play for United. Now, everything is going to be set according to what Eric Ten Hag wants. That's
But
it.
this is the thing.
Someone who
Abdi,
doesn't know anything about the Premier League, he comes in.
Abdi, what you got to understand is, man, I get where you're coming from in terms of Oli and 4 years ago and everything, but we are in the present right now. Like Woodward's gone, Matt Judge is gone, the structure's changed now. Things are going to be done differently. So we need to stop looking at Oli, Pogba, Matic, Mata. Stop looking at those players.
Okay.
They're gone now, completely.
Okay.
Ten Hag's in. Let him build his team. It's not going to take one window. Just have a bit of
Okay,
patience.
we'll see. We'll see
Can
about
I
that.
mention
Nathan,
something on
go
the
on.
midfield quickly? Can I mention something on the midfield? You say about like getting the CDM and stuff like that, having someone in there and this, that, and the other. Like it's not. I don't think necessarily about just having a destroyer in it. You just need control in that midfield. You just need absolute control in because with McTominay and Fred, it was evident last year. Like it would only work for certain. It only worked for certain games under Oli. We all know that Man City away or this, that, and the other, right? But it's like. It's more the control in midfield where like those two can't pass the ball between each like they'll only pass the ball between each other because they're uncomfortable passing forward. It's about players who sort of break the lines of the passes. And I think we spoke about this on a podcast last year, how you need that player sort of sitting deep who can receive the ball off the defense and sort of play those passes. That's sort of when you're going to because I remember you mentioned about like Bruno say coming back stuff like that. They need Bruno in the attacking third.
Yeah.
You just sort of have that balance in between. And like with De Jong, to be fair, if you listen to the Dutch reporters and stuff like that, they've been saying that for ages he's been played out the wrong position at Barcelona because they stick him ahead of Busquets, whereas his actual best position is apparently in front of the defence, where he's receiving the ball, turning and finding passes to players, stuff like that. So I think it's more just having a balance in midfield rather than actually having someone specific for that role you're looking for. Because if you have the balance, everything around it would just come together. Whereas if you have everything around it doing well, but you've got no substance in the midfield, you're absolutely screwed. Because you saw the Champions League final when City played Chelsea, they didn't play Rodri, right? And that was literally where the goal came from, literally right through the middle of the pitch. There was no balance whatsoever in the team. So in terms of United's midfield, I just think it's about like sign the players for the right position, but also you just got to find a balance. If he thinks De Jong is the guy, then we've got to trust him that he thinks De Jong is the guy. Do you know what I mean? We can't like sort of, and 54 million for him is an absolute steal in my opinion. So that's my view on it anyway. So
okay, I agree with you. It's about the balance. It's about filling in the spaces and all of that. We'll see. But I'm telling you guys, when it comes to United and the coming season, I have no hopes. I'm just going to enjoy the ride, but I've got no hopes of this team doing well. Maybe the following season, but I'm saying that if, let's say, Eric Ten Hag gets sacked next season, let's say at one point, and then a new manager comes in, it's going to be all over again. Let's start the whole process again.
Abdi, I'm going to give you the perfect analogy of how you are right now. So you go to a florist and you want to, grow a flower. You get the seeds. and you just pour it in and you put water and you're just saying, grow now, man, grow.
Where's my
Mate.
flowers?
Where? Do
Yeah,
I
but
just
this
go
is
to the back of my garden and just pick them up.
you know what I mean? Just lay the foundations, put the water in, be a bit patient, let it grow. And the rest is history, man.
Just a
Let it,
okay. While you guys are saying that, player like Ericsson is considering between joining United or
Oh.
re-signing for Brentford.
out of
That's
respect.
where United are right now. That's the level.
No, it's out
To
of
an
respect.
extent.
I
To
think
an
that's
extent,
family.
it's
I
a bit
think
of
that's
both.
family thing. I think that's family
Yeah,
because
it's mainly that.
it's
Go on, Jesse. What was that we saying?
No, what Nathan said, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
think
hear.
I think
I think that's family reasons because I think even when he was at Inter, I think most of his family was sort of settled in London anyway because he spent so many years at Tottenham. I think that's family based, but I also think that if there is an expression, money does talk in football. If United do offer him a substantial more wage packet than Brentford, then obviously he'll probably more likely join United. And obviously you've got to factor in that when obviously Ericsson, when he had that the incident that happened to him, the first club he trained at was Ajax. So he'd worked under Ten Hag. Ten Hag gave him the opportunity to train this and the other. It's just Brentford actually gave him the leap to play in the Premier League again.
Yeah.
But I think with Ericsson, it's like, would you argue he's definitely, if he joins, he's definitely contention to start. I mean, you saw what he did at Brentford last year, the run of form they went on as soon as he joined them. I think they won it's 5 out of the first 7 games that he'd
No, he pretty much helped them to stay up in the Premier League. Let's see if he will join. But if we just move on,
factors though.
Sorry, go on.
No, like what Nathan said, but also I think that it's like you said, the family reasons. The family is settled there. I also think it's about game time as well. I don't think money's a factor because we're clearly going to offer more than Brentford. So if it was just down to money, I think he'd already moved. I think it's about game time as well. I think he wants to know that he's going to play enough. And I saw a story that said that he saw it as more of an attractive move once United were linked to Jong. So I think it's more about the players that he's going to play with as well. So I think once those type of transfers go through, he might be more inclined to then make the move. Because I think obviously he wants to play with more like-minded players like himself.
Okay, if we just move on to Chelsea, Trey, what did you make of their season so far? They've the transfer window so far. They've let Rudiger go. Christensen also gone. Now, if you look at the defense, you have Thiago Silva, Cesar Azpilicueta. Maybe he will be leaving. Maybe I'm not quite sure about this situation. Malanga Sarr. That's it. There's no defenders apart from these guys. What do you see? And they've just signed. I think they've agreed a deal for Rafinha, £60 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's not going
they
to
nicked him
Arsenal.
off Arsenal.
Yeah.
No.
Arsenal fans made pictures of him wearing the Arsenal kit.
Brazil, everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What do you think of Chelsea in general? Like with the new ownership, Peter Cech leaving, everything just is changing for them. Is it a case where they're gonna be struggling next season, or do you see a way out for them?
Chelsea are always going to be Chelsea, man. The foundation's been built, and they've got to a point where they're at the end of the era now, and they're just going to have to rebuild now with a new owner. And I think enough's been done at the club to the point where you will see them being active in the market. They'll get the players that they need in certain positions. I've heard they're linked with Koundé from Seville. If they bring him in, then that will be a tremendous acquisition to the team, especially after losing Rudiger. In my opinion, I really enjoyed him as a player. A lot of people likened my playing style as a defender as a Rudiger, so there's a different connection, man, that I got with him, man, and I think that's a big loss. But Chelsea is always going to be Chelsea. They're going to sign the players that they need to sign. They'll be in the top 4. So if I was a Chelsea fan, I wouldn't be worried at all. They're in a similar position to us. Different changes at the top, new generation, but no, I wouldn't be worried at all. It's a bit early.
Um,
Obviously, Nathan said there's like 2 months left in the window, so it's too early, man. It's way too
yeah.
early.
Jesse, what do you think of the strikers this season that they've had? Obviously, Lukaku is gone back to Inter Milan on a
I
loan deal
forgot.
after spending £100 million on him.
I forgot.
You got Werner there, Kai Havertz, the guy who was on loan in Southampton, Broja. Is that enough for them?
They need to do some business everywhere, to be fair. Well, not in midfield, but they definitely need to sort out the back line, first and foremost. But
also, Kante playing half of the games last season. He missed half of the games.
yeah, he's yeah. But I
getting
think
old.
he's getting old. It's just old age and injuries. It's just catching up with him. That's where he's at in his career right now. But in terms of the front line, I don't think they've currently got enough. They definitely need to strengthen. Obviously, they've been linked with Sterling. I think if that happens, that would be a very good signing for them. I don't necessarily
Is
think
he a better player than Werner?
Yeah, that's
Sterling.
a no. Of course,
Yeah.
Sterling's proven in the Premier League. He scored over 100 goals. Like, he knows how to find the back of the net. He's got very good movement. He scores goals, and he
But
knows how to play.
if you put Werner in Man City's team, will he not score the same goals that Sterling scored?
No,
I think Sterling.
no.
Sterling, to be
I think
fair,
you're
not
under.
gonna be
I think
better,
you're.
than-
Yeah, I think you're underestimating Sterling. Sterling's a brilliant player, and that would be a brilliant signing for Chelsea. And if you think if they keep Havertz, they'll get him. They'll get Rafinha, and they'll still have Mason Mount. I think the front line would look really good. Very good options.
And in terms of defense, they've been obviously linked with Koundé for the last 2 seasons. I don't know when that deal is going to be done. But also De Ligt. If you look at the news today coming out of Italy, is that they've spoken with Juventus and De Ligt might be going to Chelsea.
They probably need both though, if we're being honest, because if they've lost, even if they kept Rudiger, they would have still needed another centre back anyway. Because you need that. I know they play with a back three, but you need that option where you can play as a back four. They don't have two. I know Thiago Silva's quality, but he needs legs around him, so he's more suited to playing in the three. They needed another centre back that could have played with Rudiger to play in the back four anyway. So
And
they probably
why do
need
you think that
two
they're
centre
not going after a left back as good a quality as Cucurella? The left back from Brighton, especially considering that Ben Chilwell, when he had the injury last season, where their season basically pretty much went into collapse from that point. Why they're not going after a good quality left back instead of hanging around Alonso?
No, but obviously I think Alonso's going to Barcelona as well, isn't he? But they still got Chilwell, and I think Sarr can play left back as well. So I don't really think they see that as a problem position for them at the moment, with them two still at the club. So, but they definitely need centre backs. I think that should be their priority. Once they get a couple of like wide forwards or wing or whatever you want to call them, inside forwards. Once they get a couple of those through the door, it definitely needs to sort out the defence, because if they go into next season and they've not bought any centre backs, they'll just be.
Can you see a case where they go for someone like Lewandowski?
He's been linked to everyone, but it's looking a bit difficult. To be honest, I see him staying at Bayern because.
Really, after all that's happened.
Yeah, but look, players kick up a fuss. We've seen this every season, every summer window. Someone kicks up a fuss. They're adamant they're leaving, and by the time the season starts, they're putting the shirt back on, aren't they? Because they can't get out of the club. And all the priorities Chelsea have got at the moment, I don't see how they can really get that one over the line.
Yeah.
If they get Sterling, if they get Rafinha, if they get one or two centre backs, I don't think they're going to have the money to sign Lewandowski plus his wages. And Bayern, he's in contract. Bayern will just reject anything, slap a massive price tag on him, and he'll still be there.
So the priority for Chelsea is out. For me personally, I would say they need a backup left back, a good quality left back for Ben Chilwell. You never know how players come back from injury sometimes. Luke Shaw done it pretty well, but you don't know how Ben Chilwell is going to be like. They need two centre backs, and they also need a defensive midfielder in there. Because I don't think that they're going to go for Saul again from Atletico Madrid after the season that he had in there.
They're stocked though at centre mid. They've got enough there. There's a lot of players that they can play there. They don't. They
But
haven't
they only
moved
have
anyone.
Kante and Jorginho,
And Kovacic.
Kovacic as well. Yeah.
They still got
You know,
Loftus
Conor
Cheek.
Gallagher coming back.
They
as
still
well.
got Conor Gallagher.
Conor Gallagher,
They've
Gilmore.
got, to be fair, they've got about 6 or 7 players that can play centre mid. I think
Yeah,
they're
they're
fine,
good.
to be honest.
Yeah, they're good.
Okay. So defensive issues is the main issue for them. Okay,
Definitely.
Nathan, if I come to you now in terms of Liverpool, the summer transfer that they've had so far, Mane leaving, is that gonna make them less of a challenger to City? Or
Do I have to be like professional about Liverpool here?
No,
yeah,
no, man.
that's what we're looking for. We're looking
You don't have
for
to be
professionalism.
professional.
Come on.
You don't have to be
I
professional.
think. Well, things if I be unprofessional, this podcast is getting pulled off there. Anyway, if I think now Mane's gone, and obviously they've now like this is their first proper out and out number 9 they've signed probably since the likes of like Balotelli and Ricky Lambert, right? If I'm not joking, I think that is genuinely the case. I can't
It is.
remember Origi, maybe like someone like that. But like even then, Origi was always like a bit time player anyway because he's now joined AC Milan as well. So that's another forward they've lost.
Mhm.
I think with Nunes joining, I think you're going to see a slight tactical switch from Klopp this season because at Dortmund he particularly liked the 4-2-3-1. At Dortmund, he liked the 4-2-3-1 at Dortmund, so you can see a sort of midfield of like Fabinho and Thiago in midfield, and then you'll have like say like Salah, Diaz, and maybe Roberto Firmino in behind Darwin Núñez. You probably see an introduction into the team with Firmino in that regard, but I think with Mane, it's like. You know, it's like we were saying earlier about how with Nunes, he's had the one season in Benfica. I think that was his only season in Benfica as well, because I think he joined from Almeria the summer before.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see whether Nunes, can step up and sort of because I think he'll be the one to replace the goals that Mane is given in actual fact. Because obviously people have been like, oh, but Diaz is replacement for Mane, but I think Diaz is a more creative than a goal scorer, if that makes sense. He's just an out and out winger, whereas Mane's a sort of that modern day sort of versatile forward that will get you goals and assists. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think the one thing they have to actually worry for at the minute, Liverpool, is I know they're looking for a centre midfielder and stuff like that. There's talks of Bellingham, there's talks of Barella from Inter Milan. But I think the one thing they've got to keep an eye on is the fact that Salah's contract's literally up next year as well.
Yeah.
So Salah's contract's up next year, and obviously when you hit January, it's not the English clubs, but clubs from abroad can literally go right. Let's start throwing deals at him because if it hits January, he's still not signed a new deal. You know for a fact that Real Madrid or PSG just gonna be like, "Yeah, do you fancy like coming over here?" sort of thing. But in terms of the business so far, Carvalho from Fulham looks to be really like astute signing. He was great in the Championship. He's probably not going to. He's obviously not going to get the same amount of game time as he was at Fulham, and I think it would also put a bit of pressure on the likes of Curtis Jones there as well. Because I'm still yet to sort of see what he's about, if that makes sense. Like, looks a good player, but he's not like established himself like properly yet. Whereas like before Harvey Elliott had his broken leg, I think he was actually establishing himself more in the team than Curtis Jones was. They signed a young lad from Aberdeen as well. Obviously now they're covered fullback wise because they've got Simicast and Robertson on the other side, and now they've got Trent and Calvin Ramsey on the other flank. But yeah, for Liverpool, they'll still be up there. I do think though this season with the way City have gone about it, I think they'll still challenge, but I think you'll see us not like a major gap in between, probably like 5 or 6 points between the top two this season round. I think City are just with the likes of Haaland and obviously Alvarez coming back into the team as well because he was on back on loan at River Plate. Calvin Phillips, I think it'd be sort of a 6 point gap between the two. But in terms of Liverpool transfer business so far, they're finally spending the big money, so they can't sort of turn around and go, "Oh, we don't spend money, this, that, and the other." Although they spent world record fees on players before. That's the bitterness coming out. Go on. Yeah, who wants to take over from there?
Yeah, I'm just enjoying the facts right now because look, at the end of the day, I'm sure all of us we've all got that Liverpool fan that is going to give it all the talk. But at the end of the day,
I'm related to one. I have
my
to
God.
put up with that, right?
Oh,
Every year, something goes, you lot are doing bad, aren't you? So you had Paul Konchesky in your team, so
no, man. You know what? My only argument for Liverpool fans, and look, a lot of people could just say, "Oh, you're going back to the past." All I have to say is you've won one title in 32 years, man. Not
Ooh.
defended any titles under Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, but to be fair though, to be fair to them, they have had seasons where any other season, or if it wasn't for a team like Man City,
Any other
they would
season,
actually be
any
winning
other
the
season.
league.
If buts and maybes.
I mean, look how many times they've managed to get over 90
If this was
points
99, if
in the
this
last
was
5
98,
seasons.
If you're
Just
still
think about
if
that.
you're back in the days with VAR, what about
Yeah.
VAR? Oh, God.
I never understood the premise of like, the league was easier back then. It's like, well, why did you guys win it?
That's not
It's
what I'm
not.
saying.
It wasn't. It's the same as it is now. It's two teams right now. It was 2-3 back then. It's exactly the same.
Yeah,
Like, it's
no,
actually no
I'm
different.
not saying that the Premier League. I actually believe that the Premier League is a much easier league now than it was back then, because right now, if you look at the bigger teams, they're allowed to play football, like proper football, and also the smaller teams are trying to play football. So we no longer have teams like Blackburn. You know, if you look at Sam Allardyce's team, if you look at teams like Bolton or Stoke City,
Man.
you don't have it as difficult as it back then. You know what I mean? If you
I think
away from home used to be mad difficult for any team. But I'm just saying, I just believe that if it wasn't for Man City, Liverpool would be winning the league. Honestly,
I know, but it's like
it's just
Scooby
Man
Doo,
City are
innit?
just
It's
way
like,
ahead of them.
It's like Scooby Doo when there's a villain and then he comes out and says, "If it wasn't for you, pesky kids or whatever." Like, it's the same thing.
It's
But
the same concept, man. Yeah.
but in terms of jokes aside, in terms of Liverpool, yeah, I think Mane's a big loss because, like I was saying with Sterling and other players like what Nathan said about Son and Kane, I think you can be patient with midfielders, like getting used to the Premier League. You can be patient with certain other players, maybe fullbacks, things like that. But in the final third, there's not really a lot of time to be patient with them players because they're the ones that are actually going to score the goals to win the games. So when you've got someone like Mane he's definitely going to score 15 to 20 goals a season. That's a massive loss to the team. I know Diaz has come in. He's looked great. He's looked more like an old school winger. And that's where I kind of agree with what Nathan said, where, yeah, he's put the ball in the back of the net, but he looks more like a direct winger that's going to try and get crosses in, try and play a final pass rather than actually cutting and shoot, like what Mane used to do, or Mike runs in behind to score goals. And I think that's where it's going to be interesting with Liverpool to see who bridges the gap goals-wise, whether Nunes can actually hit the ground running straight away, which I'm definitely not sure about, and whether Diaz can score more goals than he did last season. So it'd be interesting. But I also agree with what Nathan said. I think because of those ifs and buts, I reckon it just makes the league a slightly easier stroll for City next season.
Yeah.
If they manage to win the league next season, they will become the second team to win the league 3 times in a row. And that was the only team that have ever done that in the Premier League is Man United.
Yep.
And they've done it
Twice.
Yeah.
We've done it twice as well.
Done it twice.
So
yeah, twice.
1990. So the treble season, and then 2 seasons after that, and then 06, 07, 07, 08, and 08, 09.
Every time we won European silverware.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Only team in Manchester. Yeah. Remember, we're the only team in Manchester to have.
No, I'm just saying because when we win European silverware, we also won the league. We was.
Man United insulted anyway, so yeah.
United are the only team to have won the league and the Champions League season in the same season. So since the Premier League started, you know what I mean, 1992 or 1993, whenever it was.
Yeah.
So we do agree that Liverpool are weaker than they were last season, or they
might
likely
be.
to
they
be.
Might be.
Might be. Yeah. And even when we say weaker, it might just be the difference of I don't know, instead of losing 2 games the whole season like they done last season, they might lose 4 games or 5 games, which is not a bad thing. But
they're still going to finish.
Yeah, when you compete
I wouldn't say they're week. I think it's more just a case of
it's unknowns.
Because it's like with Nunes, to be fair to him, like what you see in the Champions League and stuff like that, he does look a very good prospect. And someone like Klopp can probably nurture that like sort of talent out of him and refine him as a player. But it's just like Mane is sort of, for me, like I know Salah does get more plaudits for me, but Mane's as important.
Mane was more important.
I think
Mane is the engine. Right. He was the engine. He's the man that started the press.
Right. All you guys are right.
Yeah.
He's the beginning of Klopp's project.
I always thought that they would sell Salah before Mane. I thought Mane was going to be there for years, honestly.
But do you guys think, because obviously he's off the books now, I know he wasn't even on a lot of money anyway. What was he on, like, I think 90 grand a week or something like that, yeah.
I
don't know if they're going to use that wage budget.
Man United, by the way. Remember, guys.
Let's not talk about Man United wages. We're in a good place right now. Let's not. Let's not talk about anyone's
wages. All I'm saying
is,
right, Mane never won the Europa League and Mkhitaryan did. So who's really the better winger here?
But to be fair, I think we have to see what happens with Nunes and how long he takes to bed in, and if he hits the ground running straight away. I wouldn't even be surprised if you saw Firmino starting a lot of games next season. Just simple for the fact that, you know, he understands Klopp's system and he knows what he's doing in that front line. Yeah. And his contract's running out now as well. He's got 1 year left too.
Yes, so does Salah. I think you might be right, Jesse, because it might be a case where they play 4-2-3. I think someone was saying this earlier. I think it was Nathan. But it might be a case where they use Firmino as an attacking midfielder with Salah, Diaz, and Nunes up front, and Jota coming on as a sub player. But yeah, we'll see how it goes for them. But when we say weaker, we don't mean like they're gonna be falling off.
They'll still finish second.
Chelsea has done it last season. They'll still be second, but like it will just be like maybe losing 4 games instead of 2 games. Let's talk finally, guys, about Lewandowski, because I want to know where you guys see. I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, but where do you see him going? Is it a case where when we give this money to Barcelona, then they go and run and buy that money with Lewandowski, or is he going to stay in there, or is he going to go to PSG?
But Barcelona are doing, like, obviously I know everyone plays Football Manager, they're kind of doing that thing where you haven't got any money, but you're putting bids in for players because you're trying to sell players and you're hoping that they go through, which in reality most of them don't go through. Then all your transfers fall through. Where is this? They don't have any money. I don't understand why they're bidding for players. It's like last summer when they signed players, they couldn't even register them. They couldn't even get them on the books. So it's like history's repeating itself with them.
Yes.
And who's left the club at the moment except Jong? Well, he's not even left yet, but no one's left, have they?
I don't think so. They were trying to get PK to leave. They were trying to get.
No, he's still there.
He's refusing.
He's still there. He's taken a pay cut, but he's still there.
I believe the term is Shakira's left PK, not PK left Barcelona.
I think.
If you look at them, they still got Memphis is still there. They've got Aubameyang. They've got I think it was Adama a loan, or was that permanent?
I think it was like a loan, but then they pay. I think like they pay. Like I think it's like a loan, then a pay, like a fee. I think I don't know.
Yeah. They're just promising the world, but they can't deliver anything. So I don't. Obviously, if Lewandowski goes there, he's going to get a pay rise as well. Otherwise, why he's not going to move?
Yeah.
So they're not. None of these things are happening. They had Rafinha over the line. It was all agreed, but they've got no money.
Yeah.
So it's like. Yeah. It's just anytime I see them being linked to players, I just think, what is the point? Why are you doing this?
But then,
you're wasting everyone's time.
The question I have, guys, is if you look at someone like Lewandowski, he's obviously not a dumb, he's not an idiot. You see what I mean? He knows what he's doing. He can see the situation that Barcelona are in, and then he's running off his mouth. He's talking, all these things about his club. Doesn't he realize that Barcelona have no money? Why is he putting all his baskets in there? Imagine if Barcelona can't sign him. That's going to be bloody awkward now.
But this is the thing, and this is why I said this, though. There's always a player that does this every season. Messi did it a few years ago, the year before he left.
Yes. Yeah, that's
Like
true.
who else has done? Pogba done it. Harry Kane did it. You're in contract, and the club don't get the money they want for you. You're not going anywhere. So it's best to
Yeah.
just shut up. You can say you want to leave, or
Exactly.
let your agent put the feelers out.
Trust me.
Let him leak stuff to the press, but directly, there's no point coming out directly and saying you're going to leave, especially when the only club that looks like they want you don't have any money.
Yeah. So okay, let's say Barca are unable to sign him. We have a scenario where PSG might be able to sign him, but that's gonna depend on Neymar if they can move him on because they are very unhappy with Neymar, especially after Mbappe signed that contract, that ridiculous contract. But reports are that they want him to leave.
Chairman
But
Mbappe.
yeah,
Trust
Chairman
me.
Mbappe.
Chairman
So
Mbappe.
it might
Chairman
be,
Mbappe
it
signed the
might be
deal,
a
and then
case.
Neymar's being linked with a move out.
Oh my days.
Exactly. So
That's
you
so
can
weird.
you can link.
That's
Yeah, so you can
coincidence,
we
they
can all
say.
put two and two together. You see what I mean? Yeah. Okay, let's say Neymar goes to Juve or another club. Imagine a front three of Messi, Lewandowski, and Mbappe.
PSG are just a celebrity FC, man. No culture.
Yeah.
Thing is,
Do you
even
know
with
the
that front
funny?
three, they're not winning the Champions League. 'Cause if you actually look at their
Never. No.
midfield, it's
Well,
very,
even
very
with that,
good.
with that front three,
They're
No,
not going to
No,
win the
they
Champions
it doesn't
League.
matter.
Their mid, like it's a combination of the fact that like I know like people make comparisons between Bayern and like I said Bundesliga and it's like PSG and like French league, pretty much the same thing. But Bayern have players that can sort of just rise up and sort of you'll see them competing for the Champions League more than PSG. Whereas like with PSG, it's like you're expected to win the league. You're literally like say with like Bayern Munich, but it's like their midfield as well. It's if you actually look at it properly, it's like Idrissa Gueye played for Everton and Aston Villa. He's not exactly like what you'd say a proper elite sort of level. Verratti's the only one they have. So it's very like unbalanced in that. So they've got no sort of actual control at midfield. And like if you're a PSG manager, all you literally have to say to him every week is, "Oh, just go out and just do whatever," because you're expected. You're expected
look,
to win. Like,
but the other thing I look at, my main issue with PSG is that front line that you just named sounds amazing, but it sounded amazing when they got Messi and they still had Neymar and Mbappe. The main issue with PSG is them three do nothing off the ball. So when you, I remember, I think it was in the Real Madrid game. I can't remember whether it made it 1-1 or 2-1 or 2-1 and 3-1. They scored 2 goals in quick succession. Yeah, they took kickoff, lost the ball. Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe were just walking. And but that's happened more. That's not just because of Messi. That was happening even before with Mbappe and Neymar. Now that's their issue. When they're defending with like 7 players. So if that continues, then they're not going to win anything. So they probably need someone in the front line that's actually going to work and still score goals.
I mean the new coach that they brought in now is supposed to be this hard coach, you know.
But who's
defensive organization and
are they going to listen to him though?
That's the question.
I mean,
is Chairman Mbappe going to listen to this coach? Is Neymar going to listen to him? Is Messi going to listen to him?
It was his idea to bring him in, along with Campos.
Well, look, and this is the thing with PSG. This is why they're destined to just have another season of not winning the Champions League because it's just it's more of a franchise, isn't it? Like they make lovely kits. You'll probably go to a game, you know, when they win 6-0 in the league and when they walk the group stage. But when it gets to the business end, a Premier League team or a Bayern Munich or a Real Madrid is always going to beat them.
Yeah.
Because those teams work.
A Man United team with McTominay, Fred, and Tahith Chong on the pitch managed to knock them out of their own on their own patch.
Yeah,
and it's not just
they get outworked. They get outworked every season. We outwork them.
Yeah, it's a similar thing to City on occasions as well. Because if you look at like say City have been knocked out by the likes of like Leon stuff like sometimes these big sort of franchises or these big teams have all these star-studded players. They tend to sort of have their off day more than teams that are just well-rounded and know the system and know the end goal. I think though, in terms of Lewandowski, though, you say about it's when you're a football manager and you make bids when you know you have no money. It reminded me of the time when I was a manager of Ebbsfleet United and it came to January and I went to Mbappe. I was like, look, do you fancy playing Sunday League, stuff like that? And I think the actual response I got back was, who the fuck are you? Do you know what I mean? Like, you. But nah, I think with Lewandowski, Barca have raised like 700 million, haven't they? In terms of leavers and selling their licensing to their names, stuff like that. So
but it's not going to be
doing weddings.
They have
doing weddings on the pitch.
Yeah, but they're in the clear without being in the clear. It's very sort of Glazer-esque, if that makes sense.
Yes,
they've got like.
I think they still got 500 million worth of debt.
Yeah, no, it's not even about that. The main issue is the head of La Liga is on the case all the time because he wants the wages to be reduced. That's the only way. So they have to sell to bring in new players. It doesn't matter how much money they have in the bank. It does not matter. They have to get rid of players. So that's why he's saying they need to get rid of Depay or I don't know, De Jong or someone like that. But I'm actually surprised that PSG are not in for someone like De Jong because that's the kind of.
I think he'll suit Chelsea more. I generally think he'll probably suit Chelsea more than the teams mentioned because I think obviously
Lewandowski.
Yeah, because I think obviously Chelsea, I know it didn't work out for them with Lukaku, but if you look at sort of their title winning sides, they've always had that main figurehead up front. Look at Drogba, Diego Costa, even Anelka coming in from the wide and things like that. If you have maybe they tried it with Lukaku last year and they just realised that like he wasn't up to scratch, and that's always been the sort of criticism against Lukaku that when it comes to him playing for the bigger teams, I know like in Serie A it's a bit of a different sort of kettle of fish to the Premier League. But when Lukaku sort of tries to perform against the bigger teams, he doesn't exactly perform. Whereas Lewandowski's like he's proven on the European stage. He's like he should have won the Ballon d'Or last year, but they created some stupid award for him. Some Striker of the Year award to sort of because they didn't want
the pain.
But I think Lewandowski would kind of suit their like if they still want that sort of diminutive sort of central striker. I think Chelsea would quite be all over him. To be fair, I don't think it'd be a bad move either. I think people will have their criticisms a bit like when Ronaldo came back. Can he still do it on a big stage, or can he still do it in the Premier League? I think it'd be a similar case of that. And I think Lewandowski, if he ever comes to the Premier League, I think he would kind of prove a few people wrong.
He
would definitely.
He'll do a madness.
He would definitely do the business.
I would tell Ronaldo to go to Bayern and take Lewandowski. Honestly. I know you guys don't agree.
Can I ask why? Why?
Gladly. Okay, I'll tell you why. Yeah.
What? Lewandowski over Ronaldo?
Yes. Because Lewandowski, first of all, he's younger. Yeah.
But how much younger is he? What is he? Lewandowski's like 35, isn't he?
Cavani was younger than Ronaldo. He's younger than Ronaldo, though.
Well, Cavani isn't Lewandowski exactly, is he? Cavani didn't even want to be in the club. We begged him to stay for that extra season.
Wait, Abdi, let me give you just one stat here.
Yeah, go on.
How many goals did Mane score last season, Premier League?
Mane?
Yeah.
I don't know, about 12?
16, I think. Around about 16.
Right.
The point that Trey's going to get to a longer way around it. The point is that Ronaldo's outscored most forwards in the league last season.
Yeah,
and
he did, but
he's not one of our main issues.
He's not the problem.
He's not. It's not even. That's a problem that will come up later when his contract runs out and whether he decides to stay or not, or whether we move on. But right now, he's not an issue. We've got much bigger issues.
No, I'm not saying he's a big issue. I'm not saying he's a big issue, but I would rather have Lewandowski over Ronaldo in my team all day long.
I wouldn't because it's the same. No, but I wouldn't because it's the same problem because he'll score goals, but he's also 35 or nearly that, and it's the same issue.
Yeah,
so it's not really. It's not much difference to be honest.
Do you think that next year, when obviously Ronaldo's contract's going to be up and stuff like that, and obviously he scored over 20 goals in a team that was very, very dysfunctional, and you kind of think that with a better system around him, and if you manage him a bit better as well, because I think that was the frustration last year is that he was playing week in, week out, and then as soon as he came back after international break, he looked a bit more fresh because he was obviously he had a bit of time to actually like rest up, things like that. Do you think that next summer, like say if he has a good season, do you think that United should trigger the extension if, say, for example, next summer, Nkunku's release clause comes into play, someone like that becomes available, and you'd say,
no.
I want. Do you know what I want?
No.
To be honest, yeah.
Wow,
I
what do you
think.
want? What do you want, Jesse?
No, but I think it just depends on how he performs next season, and also if he wants to stay, and if the manager wants him to stay. So if all them things, if he performs well, performs like this season, same amount of goals or more, Ten Hag wants to continue with him if he's still in charge. Well, hope he will still be in charge. Fingers crossed. And he wants to stay on. Then yeah, we keep him. Like I think we're talking about the age too much sometimes. Yeah, his style of play has changed and he's slowed down a bit, but he done what we wanted him to do. We brought him in to score goals, and he hit 20 plus goals. So he's done what he's meant to do.
And that's fine. But the only reason that I would keep him, or the only condition I would keep him on, is if I'm Eric Ten Hag, I'll tell him, listen, you can stay. I don't have an issue with that. But you have to accept that you're not a 26-year-old anymore. So I'm gonna have to rotate you. I'm gonna have to look after the team.
I think, yeah. Look, there's certain games where I don't think he needs to play, but I think he'll understand that anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but he needs to understand this. He needs to understand this. He needs to get this into his head. He cannot play. Like for example, when Ragnick took him off against, I don't know if it was
that's not acceptable.
Brentford.
Yeah, that's not
the reaction that you cannot be doing that as a 37 years old. You cannot, because this guy's thinking, I need to look after you for the Atletico Madrid game, and this is how you're acting.
But the thing is,
that needs to change slightly, yeah. But I think,
don't you think, sorry, Jesse, before you say your point, but don't you think Ronaldo's not just frustrated about that substitution, but he's frustrated about the teams, how dysfunctional.
No, he's frustrated because he didn't score a goal in that game.
No, man, no.
And the player who
definitely
came on
not that, man.
scored a goal.
Trust me.
You've also got to remember that last season, United's striking options absolutely fell off a cliff because, like, Rashford weren't doing the business. He was completely out of form. Martial was out of form anyway. He went on loan to Sevilla. And Sevilla fans and like the Sevilla social media admin, I've never seen so much coverage for a lone player like coming in as they did because they flooded that. And it turns out he scored 2 goals in about 19 games, and Sevilla fans are already getting the
he didn't even score in the league.
Yeah, they were getting the same frustrations that United fans were having. You obviously had the stuff with Greenwood off the pitch, which obviously didn't help either, because that's also disrupted plans. Because he would have been United's first choice striker for the next 10 years, roughly speaking. Yeah. So then you had Cavani, who's too busy like doing carp fishing in Uruguay to actually like give a shit. So it's like he's going to be.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not even trying to be negative about no Man United players in general, but he pissed me off last season, man. I thought like the amount of times that he was supposed to be available, then suddenly on the Friday there was an illness or he was injured. I think he missed like nearly 30 games, didn't he?
He missed a lot of games. I think even Owen.
And that's why I'm not gonna. But also, sorry to cut you. That's also why I'm not gonna be that critical of Ronaldo, because I know he's done all that petulant behavior sometimes, and he's not the same as he used to be, and all this type of stuff. But he was there. And he scored goals.
I think
no one else.
Standards, to be honest, I think that's just him, like because of the standards he has himself. Annoyed. It's like how you hear the reports and stuff like that, like now coming out that like he wasn't like him and Maguire sort of clashed throughout the season because of the standards of like leadership, dressing room and stuff like that. And it's like obviously one player has been relegated a few times in his career, played for like Hull and Sheffield United. One person's won everything there is to win as a footballer, barring the World Cup, essentially. And it's like you're gonna have like you're gonna have when Ronaldo walks in, the expectation should have been with everyone else. Right, this is what you have to be. Raise your level.
That was a massive. Sorry to cut you, Nathan, but that was a massive mistake as well. Was if you bring someone like that in, just give him the captaincy.
Exactly.
I just didn't understand why
Oli
continued the season with Maguire as captain. That just caused unnecessary problems. Because if you done it straight away, everyone can understand that. Okay, he's got the captain because it's Ronaldo. Do you know what I mean? He's got the captaincy. Sorry, but in terms of like, just just going back to that striker thing, like, yeah, he was there all season, and he also
Yes.
was top goal scorer. Whereas no one else can say that. No one else was
24
there all
goals.
season, and no one else, none of the other
26
forwards, I
actually, yeah.
think,
Or is it
did any of them
24?
score over 5? Did any of them score over 5 goals?
No, I think
Exactly.
Rashford
So
only scored a couple of goals.
yeah, so I
Yeah.
think there's
Yeah.
no. I'm not worried about him. I don't even. He's not. When I think of issues or what I want to happen next season, I don't even think of him as a problem right now.
Yeah, Maguire is a big issue going into the season on and off the pitch because he's supposed to be the captain, the leader of this club. And when you think about the leaders that we used to have, Vidic and Ferdinand Giggs and Gary Neville and Paul Scholes and all of these guys.
I think that's
Schmeichel
also a
and
modern
Eric
day culture
Cantona.
problem. Like, sorry, I think that's a modern day culture problem where it's like you're not going to have the leaders like you.
It's not going to happen anymore
because like
Roy Keane,
you're not going to look at Maguire and go, yeah, you're John Terry, or
no, it's not happening anymore.
Actually, not John Terry. He's just bad human being. Someone like Rio Ferdinand or something like that. Or you're not going to look at say like McTominay and go, yeah, Roy Keane. Do you know what I mean? Like you're not going to have that.
But I believe, I believe that a captain should be someone who has high standards to play at the highest level of his game every single game. And if we're not winning, I expect that captain to be angry at every person, to be shouting at every person, to be the captain, the leader on the pitch. And that's what Bruno Fernandes is. That's why I want Bruno Fernandes to be our captain. If not Ronaldo, I want Bruno to be the captain. If not Ronaldo, that's it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, man. It's a good point. It's a good point.
No,
man.
I don't know because
I'm gonna share with you guys a video. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Share with you guys a video of Bruno Fernandes having a go at Fred, and I don't know if you guys have seen it. Fred and Alex Telles.
No, we've all seen it. But one thing I'll say
that is the kind of a leader we need.
Not really. I think it's like I've seen the video. I think it's a load of bollocks, if I'm being honest, because
really
it's just banter. They're just doing banter, man. Yeah,
it's the summer, and there's no games on right now. I don't think it's a massive problem. But the only thing I'd say about Bruno is that I don't want to give the captaincy to someone who might not be playing every week. And the only reason I say that is because Ten Hag's come in now. He's trying to bring Eriksen in, who's practically a number 10. And he's trying to bring in Jong, he can play as a 6, but he can play as an 8 as well.
And Van de
Beek's not going on loan. He's definitely going to stay.
So plans.
Yeah, so with that amount of players in midfield in them positions, I'm not necessarily sure that he's going to play every week. So
that's true.
I know it's not. I know it's probably not everyone's cup of tea, but
no, you're right. I agree with you.
I'm not bothered.
Let me tell you where
if they give the captaincy to David De Gea, because
10 years.
Obviously, we're moving on Henderson, and obviously going on loan to Nottingham Forest.
Yes,
De Gea's going to play every week, and he's probably one of the only players from last season that played well. Alongside Ronaldo, maybe you could say a few others, but
you're right.
I've got no issue if it's not going to be Ronaldo. Then I've got no issue with De Gea being captain.
Right.
As long as it's not, long as the captain is not Maguire, I'm okay. To be honest with you,
and also you got. Go on, Nathan. Sorry.
De Gea's like performances as well. Like if you actually look at his Man United career, he had a dodgy first season. But I think that was more him settling in. So and he eventually obviously just grew in his game and stuff like that. And like he's only really had about 1, maybe 2 off seasons here, and his standards always been up there. And also as well, like in terms of respect he has for the club, like there are many players who say if they didn't get their own way of a move, they'd absolutely kick up the fuss. When De Gea didn't get his dream move to Real Madrid, he was just like, all right, cool. Do you know what I mean? He didn't like react to it whatsoever. Like he didn't sort of like slate the club list. Like he signed a new deal because he eventually saw that he thought that United was the place for him. Whereas he could have been off winning Champions Leagues like on the 3-peat, And I think with De Gea as well, it's like him. I think him and Ronaldo are in that category of. I think Ronaldo a bit more because obviously he's won far more than De Gea. But I think those two are in that category of like they know the standard what needs to be set. Yeah. And I think that's what it is. Like, if you give it to someone who, like I said, has been relegated with the likes of Hull and Sheffield United, you're not exactly like sort of because a captain for me is you look if you're a player and you're like say if you're up against it, you're under the cosh because there are going to be games like that. It's not going to be perfect every single time. You could be looking to your captain, you look to your left, and you look at Maguire, and you're like, you're not going to see any confidence or leadership for him to turn around and go, right, guys, let's like group together, let's like get through this, and then we'll kick on from there. Whereas I think if you look at the likes of, say, Ronaldo, De Gea, you're going to get that from them. But yeah, De Gea, for me, I think he probably, controversial take, I think you'd give it to Ronaldo because it's Ronaldo, but I think De Gea deserves it more for what De Gea has done for the club, if that makes sense. In terms
10
of
years.
the
10 years.
Okay, Trey. I think we're gonna be finishing soon. I think that's enough for one day, for one episode. Yeah, go on, Trey. What were you gonna say?
No, I wasn't even going to say anything. I was just going to agree with what obviously Bessie's saying. I was going to agree with what Jesse's saying as well. In terms of their choices for captains, Ronaldo, De Gea, I'll give it to one of them. And let me tell you guys as well, the common denominator as well between both guys is they're both Fergie's babies, you would say, man. They're both managed by Ferguson. So they know the standards that needs to be hit for this club to obviously get to the next level, man. So, Abdi, the way I'll end this, I'll say this just simply, bro.
Yeah, go for it.
Just relax, man. Relax.
Yeah, but honestly, no, but I'll say that to any.
I have to ask you questions because we can all act like, all cool, yes, fine, we've got a new manager, new era and everything, but the questions have to be asked.
Yeah,
why is it that every time we get a new manager, the philosophy changes? It shouldn't. It should be about the club. The club has to have a philosophy, and then they have to hire a manager who fits into that philosophy.
No, we're not the only club that does that. And I think if you look at Chelsea, they don't have a style of play. The manager comes in, sets it. But the difference is that Chelsea's structure and their academy produces high-level quality players that can adapt to any style of play. So they've had Sarri, who's completely different to Conte, who's completely different to Tuchel. They all still won trophies though.
But if you look at the players that they sign, they don't change. They always sign.
That's what I said. The structure.
The same type of players.
But that's the structure and top to bottom of that club. That's why they were still competitive. So, but the style of play did change, and the philosophy changed on the pitch. So, it's just about getting the structure right. But all I'll say about Man United in general is just patience. But that comes from everyone though, and the fans included. Like, because if we get all right, Ten Hag loses the first. I don't not say the first 3 games, but he goes on a run at some point in the season and loses 4 or 5 games, 6 or 7 or whatever. Sacking him is gonna what? There's gonna be absolutely no point in doing that.
No.
Then we'll be back to square one again with another interim.
And that's my point. And that's my
but that's why I'm saying we just need to kind of ride through that. If that does happen,
patience.
We need to firm it, man, and ride that pain because
but this is
there's no point.
No, but the thing is, let's say United don't get top 4 next season. There is a chance that he will be sacked.
No,
but if we don't, they should keep him.
No, I'm not saying that he should be sacked, but they're gonna sack him because that's what they do. There's no structure. There's no identity. All they care about is the next. Are we in top 4? Is there money coming in from Champions League football? That's it.
No, but Abdi, it's been the opposite, mate, man. They've been more. How much has Manchester United made? We've made a certain amount of revenue, and they're happy to do that because certain managers, remember structurally, think about it. What Jesse's saying is true. Chelsea, their foundation and their structure at the top's always been solid. So whatever manager comes in is perfect. Whereas Oli, like obviously we love him, we're massive fans of him, we would support him because of obviously what he's done as a player. But structurally, we left the man stranded. Like we left him stranded. He had Ed Woodward. Look who he brings in.
Of course, yeah.
Come on. Like it's a new era now.
No, I agree with you.
Forget about the past.
It's a new era. I agree with you, but I'm not going into the season with much hopes. I'm telling you guys, I'm just going into the season. I'm just gonna enjoy the ride. But that's it. I'm not expecting anything.
No one's saying we're gonna go and win the Premier League.
I'm not expecting any.
God,
love it.
No, I'm not expecting nothing ridiculous. Like
I'll take Europa League.
I'm not. I just want to see progress, even if it's small. I don't care about I'm only speaking for myself. I don't expect other Man United fans to be like me, but I'm not expecting like loads. I just want to see progress in terms of some slight
Okay, what is the
improvements on
progress
the.
for you?
A trophy
Yeah.
and top four.
That's the
Because-
highest end of it.
Because
But
here's the thing: it's like I think with it's very sort of similar-esque, like how when the Klopp first joined Liverpool. I'm not making like a comparison between the two, but it's like a sort of a renewed optimism rather than a pessimistic sort of view from most fans going into the season. I think the fact that you saw the likes of City and Liverpool signing players first, I think that sort of it created a very, I wouldn't say reactionary sort of response from the United fans, but I think it was sort of like there needed to be a slight bit of context because Liverpool and City have always had that. They've had the structure in there for 4 or 5 years under that manager.
Yes.
Man United's new manager has come in, and we've seen, the chief, like the CEO go, the chief negotiator go. You've seen the head scout go, who Louis van Gaal brought in as well. We've seen changes in the backroom staff whilst a manager's come in and sort of had like has not even dipped his toe in the pre-season yet, and you've already seen people like online saying that if like Ten Hag's a yes man, Ten Hag's a puppet, and stuff like that, and it's like not just calm it down.
It's just nonsense, man.
Ball's not even been kicked in pre-season yet properly in a friendly,
Literally.
right?
Okay.
So you need to have perspective and say that like I said, Liverpool and City have had a structure for so many years. They've created identity on and off the pitch. They're quick with it because they know what they're doing. It's pretty much like doing a 9-to-5 job that you've done for 3 years. You know what you're doing. There's going to be the odd hiccup here and there. Chelsea, you said about the structure and stuff like that. Their structure is literally just there's a reason why they're the most like winning this team in the last 20 odd years because they literally, if it's not working out, they'll just get a new manager in, but they'll always have the money there. They'll always just buy the players anyway. City have sort of got a bit of brand going now because obviously the way Pep has them playing the football list like never Klopp. It's the way they sort of go about things. It's very, very good the way to run the business. Whereas Man United, if you look at like the statistics stuff like that, they've made about 110 million of profit on players sold. Liverpool made like 3 times as much as that because they've got a structure in place. Whereas a manager, let's say if a Klopp goes, and say if it's someone like a Gerrard, obviously they've been talking about that. Gerrard will walk in to a setup already there. It's like the next manager after Pep will walk into a setup already there.
Yep.
Ten Hag's walked into a setup that's been like non-existent for the past 10 years. Once David Gill left and Sir Alex left, it's been non-existent for the past 10 years. So you're gonna have the odd result here and there where people are like, "Oh, Ten Hag's get Ten Hag out, this, that, and the other." But I think for this season, top 4 is a necessity because I think United do need to be back in the Champions League. But if they say circumstances where you miss out on a trophy, say like if a player gets red card in the final and stuff like that, you can't go, "Oh, that's Ten Hag's fault."
No,
sometimes football does work out that way, as circumstances do. But
or Maguire giving away the ball.
But it's okay. You just got to be patient. If people are willing to give Ollie time, you've got to give a manager time who's far more advanced and technically gifted than Ollie. You have to give Jose Mourinho. You have to give Jose Mourinho time. It didn't work out. You have to give Van Gaal time. He got sacked in the eve of the cup final. After the cup final, this and the other. Moyes was just the wrong decision. Moyes was just the wrong decision in general because obviously you're basically going off what Fergie said.
Yeah.
But you still have to maintain standards. You still have to sort of, if Ten Hag makes a bad tactical decision, rightfully call him out on it, but don't call for his head. These things happen. Pep's made bad tactical decisions.
There's a difference.
Tactical decisions, you just have to literally bide with it, and then just let it. If it doesn't work out for Ten Hag, it's like, okay, cool. Next manager comes in, give him the same opportunity. You can't be so like gone home and sort of call for a manager's head or say he's going to do badly just because of past experiences. This is going to be a grind. It's going to be a long grind, but you have to be in it for the long haul.
Perfect.
And we also have to be realistic as well, and that's why I think top 4 is a realistic target. You can't say anything more than that because City still have Pep. They've gone again. They signed players. Liverpool signed players again. They played every bloody game of football they could play last season. So these teams are still going to be the main front runners for all of the major trophies. So all we can do is just start the building blocks now and start the process, and fingers crossed it goes in the right direction. Because even for
I
Klopp,
am 100%
I
convinced
think it took 3 years
that
to win the Champions League, even though it was a bit fortuitous. Well, it weren't lucky, but it still
They've
took
done
3
it.
years.
Yep.
But the seasons before that was just top 4 finishes.
Yep.
So,
yes,
we just have to.
yes. No, I am convinced that Eric Ten Hag is obviously he's a brilliant coach, but why I'm not convinced that is that these board, even if they're the new guys, yeah, Woodward is gone, all of that, these guys are the new decision makers. I still believe that they wouldn't give him time if this guy goes through a hard time and the fans are protesting outside and they're unhappy. They'll just protect their backs at the end of the day, and they'll just get rid of the manager and blame everything on the manager. They'll just feed the media again and say like, "Oh, the players were unhappy with the coach because he was doing this, he was doing that." So
But I don't think we're
distrust
gonna.
is
I
with
don't think. I could be wrong, but I don't think the fans or anyone's gonna buy that again now. Because I don't. How many times can that happen?
You will be very surprised. You'll be very surprised by what people believe, because the media, they can make anyone believe anything. Like if they can make people believe that Ragnick was a bad coach, imagine. That's what actually people believe now. They saying like, "Oh, where's the godfather of German football? Oh, this guy, what did he know? He didn't know anything. He didn't do nothing. Look, the players, they don't even listen to him. Why? Because the media are feeding the fans this information.
But the
It's
thing is,
all false."
But
Abdi,
then players haven't listened to none of the last few managers either, so it's not really wasn't
But
a new
all Ragnick did
situation, was
is
it?
that he pointed out exactly what United have gone wrong, and he said, "This is what you need. That's what you need," and he said it in public. And then what did they do? The people that they use in the media, which is their own sort of like, they pay people to spread news and basically make themselves look better and make always throw the coach under the bus. They've done it with Mourinho. They've done it with Van Gaal. They've done it with Oli as well. Even it got to a point where they were saying that Michael Carrick was sort of like the genius behind Oli, and Oli didn't know anything.
but
Seriously?
Abdi, let me just quickly say something. Obviously, I know we're coming up to the time when we're finishing, but obviously Jesse would relate to this. He's obviously Jamaican. An analogy that we should just take whilst the window is going on right now is, you see, like a normal race, 100-meter race. They say don't look left, don't look right. You're gonna fall off track. Just stay in your lane, look straight, go ahead. That's all we need to do as fans. Don't worry about what the media's saying, and don't worry about what Arsenal are doing, what Chelsea are doing, what City are doing. Ten Hag is here for the long run. Just support, back the man. That's
Just
enough.
go to the games
Go
if you're
to the
gonna go to them.
games,
Watch the
enjoy.
games if you're not, and just enjoy it. Just
And
Enjoy
get
it,
beat
man.
5-0, yeah, by Liverpool again.
No,
Yep,
no,
cheers
it
for
might,
that.
it might happen, but
I
no,
don't
you
think
never
it'll
know.
happen.
Thing
I
is,
don't
you
think
know,
it
say
will
about the
happen.
media. Sorry, so you know, say about the media and stuff like that, right? Yeah, the media are like, as soon as Ten Hag was appointed, the actual genuine scope for the media is literally waiting for him to trip up at any point.
Yeah,
Because
I
it's the
know.
same
So
with any manager who
Yep.
gets into a new job or anything associated with a big club. People, it's like a weird like culture thing. People love to knock people down, especially like, say organisations that are supposedly are going to be at the top. People love to sort of pick any little holes and completely try and knock them down. And
Do
like,
you know what, Nathan? Can I just quickly add? Do you know what they tried to say about Ten Hag's first press conference? They tried to
yeah,
say
it's
he
a lot
was
of
trembling and all that.
yeah,
Come
the
on, the
body
man was.
language stuff like that, like a body
Oh,
language.
Nonsense.
get lost, man. Get
And it's
lost.
like,
Get
Yeah.
lost.
it's like if that's someone mannerisms, fair enough. But it's like, the body language suggests that he's not the right man for Man United. It's like, well, to be honest,
wow.
it's like
Yeah, I don't
I'd
believe
rather
that. Yeah.
I'd rather look at the results on the pitch than look at someone shrugging their shoulders. That would sort of suggest to me who's whether you're the right manager. But also, it's like you see a couple of weeks back when this is more of a problem with the English media. They don't exactly know much about like the work people do outside of England anyway. It's like you look at Danny Murphy, where he's like, "Oh, who would you rather have, Southgate or Ten Hag?" And his first answer was literally, "I'd rather have Southgate because I know him." And it's like, well,
they
there you go,
literally
like,
but yeah, Nathan. What Nathan said is the key actually, because
Yep.
I'd even go as far as they only watch the Premier League. They don't even watch the Championship.
Yes.
Most of these guys, because they make. I remember.
Championship's a better league, by the way. I'll actually stand by that. Championship's a better league.
Yeah,
It's great. I'm not gonna
but
lie.
they made a point. I remember when.
Peterborough.
I remember. No, but I remember when Sheffield United came up, and
Yes.
I think it was. I can't remember which one of them said it, but they were like, "Oh, their style of play is not going to be suited to the Premier League. It won't work." They literally haven't seen Sheffield United play before. I'm talking about when Chris Wilder was in charge, because they were talking as if like they just pump it long, big man up top, blah blah blah, and when they didn't even play like that at all. So that's how like ignorant they are sometimes in this country. They don't even know what's going on in the Championship most of the time.
It's not even that as well. You say about
agreed.
So it's only another. You say about Ten Hag and stuff like that. It's like Danny Murphy was like, "Oh, but they always win the league over there." And it's like, well, before Ten Hag joined, they've not won the league for 4 or 5 years. You know,
exactly.
Yes.
It's like that. It's like that sort of thing. It's like just do your research instead of just going on the same boring narrative. And they're like,
they watch less football than
and
us.
he took them. I think he took Ajax to the Europa League final, right, against Man United.
I think that was a previous manager. I think that was
okay, but he took them to.
I think he came in that summer after.
Yeah, because I think it was Peter Bowes who took them to the Europa League final. Then Ten Hag took them to the Champions League semi-final, in which, to be fair, they were quite unlucky to actually lose against Spurs in
last minute.
Yeah,
that was a great game, though.
Yeah,
trust me, a memorable one as well.
Yeah,
about
guys, should we call it a day now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good, man. It's nice therapy.
It has been amazing to catch up with you guys about the summer transfer window so far. It's gonna be a crazy window. I think it's only gonna be even mad. You know what's gonna happen now. You look at a player like Rafinha, who was gonna go to Barcelona at one point, to Arsenal, and now ends up at Chelsea. So it's just gonna be like that the whole transfer window in the summer. We're gonna be here to talk about this every week. Hopefully, not next year, next week. Okay.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So Jesse, thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to join the podcast. Trey, once again, thank you, mate. Nathan, okay.
New